Everything's good.
Yay, I'm so glad you're here with me.
Yeah,
So, okay, I know you got such limited time and everything. So, let me just make this quick and ask all my questions.
okay.
So, first, introduce yourself.
My name is Catrell Dyer. I've been a real estate broker for about 20 years, real estate investor about 25.
So, Mr. Catrell, um, you have you're in a unique position because you are a broker and you also are an investor. Now, did you start out being a broker first or the investor first?
I started off being an investor first, and I became a realtor because back, 25 years ago, I know it's a long time. I was tired of waiting for realtors to get me into properties. So I became a realtor so that I could get myself into properties.
Oh, see, that's because you was messing around with um, licensees and not professional brokers.
Back then, it was a different time. It was before the internet. The realtors actually had to, they couldn't send you the listings like they send now. They had to fax you a copy of the listing.
You
You know,
giving
it,
your age, homie.
yeah, I know, but like we actually had back then, we had to download software for the computer just to be able to see some listings, and you still couldn't see them all.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So, an investor. Everybody wants to be an investor these days. Everybody wants to flip. We got HGTV showing us that we could do it all in one episode. So, what have been some of your experiences and failures when it comes to flipping or just investing in real estate in general?
I would say the first issue is finding the right property that is going to get you the return that you're looking for. On television, they kind of make it seem like it's easy that every property is going to give you the returns, but investors, we lose money all the time. I've lost money on some properties because the numbers weren't right. Once the home was ready to go to market, it was the wrong season and it just took longer to sell. Also, a big challenge is the contractors. A lot of people think that you just go grab a contractor and the contractor tells you what you want to hear and it's going to be simple and easy, but it's very challenging to get contractors to do what they commit to, even when you can time.
So, what's more detrimental to the deal? Is it the contractor or the timing on when the property comes on the market?
The contractor is the worst part because they control when the property goes to market. We can start off in the summer and they say, I'm going to be able to complete this in 3 months. Then it takes 6. Now we're in the middle of the winter. That's the slow season. And now we can't get a good buyer because maybe they're not ready to buy because they want to make sure that their kids stay in the same school and they don't want to move into a different school district. So when a contractor says they can complete the job and they don't, it throws the timeline off and also increase your costs because now you're paying more mortgage payments, um, holding on to the property longer.
So, what type of lending do you do, or do you pay cash?
I've done cash deals, but I've also used hard money. Hard money loans is they don't always look at your total income. They do what's called stated income, where you just tell them how much you make, and then you have to show that you have the funds, and then they'll do the loan where you come up with 20%, or I would say 10 to 20% of the down payment amount, and they'll give you the money to do the work.
Okay. So, if you had to put a number on it for someone to get an idea of what they need to get started, what would that number look like? Say they wanted to buy like a two flat.
How much of a down payment they need?
Mm-hmm. Just to,
Well, in this market right now, I say the average two flats in good areas that need renovation is anywhere from 150 to 200,000. So
okay.
you would need 20% of that. So I would say anywhere from 20 to 30,000.
Let me put you on pause for 1 second. My daughter's going to make me kill her. Hold on a second. Like, sorry about that. So you said about 25% down. Is that what you said?
10 to 20% down. So it could be anywhere between 20 to 30,000,
Mm-hmm.
just depending on the price of the project. Now, if they can find something cheaper, like a $50,000 house, but I like to always tell people, if you find a $50,000 house, it's not going to be worth 300,000 in most situations.
Right.
The $50,000 house might be worth 150 or something like that. The return is normally about 50,000 on 50,000 profit on your flip.
Really?
People think that if you get a $50,000 place that they're going to be able to sell it for 400,000 or something like that. But in this market right here, those deals don't usually come up. They every now and then they're possible, but usually they're not. I don't make $200,000 off a project. Normally it's somewhere between 50 to 75.
I see.
So it's a volume business. You got to do multiple ones in a year. But the average person, if you made 50,000 from not physically doing any work, that's a good return.
Good deal. Yeah, I agree. So, how did you select your contractors?
Referrals, started out, even with the referral process of being referred a contractor, that doesn't mean that they're going to do good for you. They might have did good for the other person, but when you get to them, it depends on whatever they have going on that may not make them right for you. So a lot of times I'll use a contractor once and I'll never use them again. And I'll come across another one. And then sometimes I just take a chance on the guy who gave me his card at Home Depot, so I'll start him off doing, one part of the job and see how that goes. And if he does that one part, then I'll let him do another part. But I don't let one guy do the entire job unless I know him.
Oh, I see.
If we go into the entire job together and then he slows up on one part, it then slowed the entire process down. And that's when the projects start taking 6 months to do and stuff like that.
So on average, how long does it take for you to complete a project?
Usually if it's, say it should take about 3 months.
Okay.
But I've had projects take as long as 9 months because of bad contractors.
Yeah, I can imagine. So with the contractors, so the permit process, like just give us all like an understanding of like how the whole process works.
Well, I usually apply for my permits online, especially now during COVID. I don't do projects that have violations from the city because the permit process is longer.
Okay.
And it costs more. So it's easier to do projects that don't have violations because you can get those permits right away.
Okay.
After you get the permits, then I start doing whatever tear out I'm going to do. After I do the tear out, that's when I go back with the plumbing and electrical. Then after plumbing and electrical, we start closing up the walls. If I have to do any HVAC or furnace work, this is the same time that I'll do my duct work for the furnace. And once we do that, then the furnace will be like the last thing I put in so they won't get damaged with drywall. Also the floors, hardwood floors are the last thing that I also do.
So do you work with an architect to design out things, or do you have like how do you envision the finished product?
I do it in my mind because I've been doing this for such a long time, but I haven't done projects where I needed an architect where I'm like doing a total addition on a house or something like that. But if you are doing an addition or if you're doing a brand new porch in the city, you have to have an architect to submit the drawings to the city. And then they'll give you a permit to complete the work.
So if you're doing like open concept and you're trying to maximize the space, do you need a architect for that? Or
if you're doing an open concept and you're doing a total redesign of the interior, then you do need an architect.
I see. Okay. And that cost can push up the price for the rehab cost of the home.
It does, because a lot of architects charge around $3,000 to do drawings.
Okay. And do you work with the same, well, you said you didn't work with the same people. So the lending process, how long does it take for you to get pre-approved and get all that stuff going to get, to purchase the property?
Well, I've been doing this for a while, so I'm using usually the same hard money lender. So I can get my deals closed in about no more than 4 weeks, because they're familiar with me. But if I went to another lender, then I have to show them all of my information all over again. They want to see that you have done about 5 deals in the last 3 years, to prove to them that you know what you're doing. And then after you submit the contract to them, you have to do the appraisal. Normally, the appraisal is, say, if you're buying the home for $100,000, the appraisal of the company wants to see the after rehab value of the appraisal. So I would tell them prior to starting the deal that I believe this home is worth $200,000. So the purchase price 100, rehab costs could be, say, 40,000. Then after rehab costs is 200,000. So I want the appraiser, or I'm looking for the appraiser to show the mortgage company that it will appraise for the 200,000, so that they'll do the deal.
I have so many questions. I'm trying to line them up so they're logically and some sort of.
And also the rehab company, they're going to want, or the rehab lender, they're going to want to see a scope of work, which details exactly what you plan on doing to the property from when you first close to when you finish. So you give it to them in stages, where you starting off if you're going to do any foundation work, if you're going to do any drywall, the plumbing, electrical. They want you to give them a cost of each, so that they'll know about how much that's going to be, because they're also giving you money to do the work. So they want to know, beforehand how much you're requesting. So the scope of work, it itemizes all of what you're asking them to give you to complete the rehab work.
Got it. So how do you choose the area?
The numbers are how I choose the area. So as long as the numbers work, and I like the block, because I'll go on the block, make sure that it looks good to me, make sure that I feel like I can get the property sold, because sometimes even when the numbers work, if you have a lot of hanging out on the block, if you have a lot of vacant properties, that could still keep you from selling it. So it's a combination of the numbers and making sure that it's a good block.
So you and I have access to the MLS. So most investors do not. So what would be a good tool for them to use to do some imperial data search?
Well, that's when they use us as their realtor. As their realtor, we do the market analysis for them and identify which properties we think would be a good flip for them and try to advise them. And that's how they would find a.
So you do need a broker.
I mean, yeah, you do need, but in my case, I became my own broker. But
I know, I got you. Do you
definitely need a broker? Definitely.
Yeah. So, and how would you, if someone come to you and say, "Hey, can you teach me how to do this?" What would be your first piece of advice that you would give someone?
I'll give them the advice that I use for myself, and then if they're not a broker already, then I'll say, hey, let's get you pre-qualified, to see how much you can purchase. If they're doing cash, I'll show them how much properties, or I'll show them what's available in their price range, in their cash price range, and then I'll just tell them this is what it would sell for after the rehab. From the pictures, this looks like it's going to take about X amount of money to do the rehab, and I'll tell them if I think it's a good deal or not.
Okay, well, that's because you are also well versed in that. Yeah. Well, okay. Putting on your investor only hat, if someone asked you how did you do this and how can I do this, what would be your piece of advice that you would give them, just as an investor, not as a broker?
Oh, just as an investor, it's back to I think these numbers work, and this looks like a good block. So I believe it's a gut instinct at that point that looking at the numbers, trying to find houses as close to the one that I'm trying to sell or that I'm trying to buy. If I find ones that's very close to that one and it's sold, then I'm feeling good about that property. And then if it's also a good block, not a lot of hanging out, not a lot of vacant properties, I'm feeling good about it. Then that's how it's a yes for me.
Have you ever experienced running out of money in a rehab?
I've never ran out of money on a rehab, but I've finished a project and I've lost money on a
Okay.
rehab because the contractor didn't do what they were supposed to. I've had jobs where I had to change contractors several times. The thing that allowed me to not run out of money is I've always kept my credit good. So I have a lot of credit cards or a lot of credit that I don't necessarily use day to day.
Right.
So when I ran into trouble, I had enough money to keep me going.
I got you. So have a contingency plan is important.
Yes.
Um, so in this market that we're experiencing now, where it's a seller's market, like how creative do you have to get in order for you to keep your business going as an investor to find properties? Because I guess the idea of being an investor is to buy cheap and sell high.
Well, you're not going to be able to buy as cheap as it used to be, but you have to make the properties. You're buying at a higher price point initially. The places need a lot more work. So it comes to down to you buying cash or being able to close quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to make the property look good. Not overly invest into it to do too much, or don't do finishes that just don't work for that neighborhood. You know, like that you then over invested into the home, but it has to look good so that somebody wants to buy it as soon as they walk in. When you walk into one of my homes, I want the person to think immediately I'm home. So I'm trying to make it look as good as possible without over investing into it so that that initial reaction is I'm home.
I got you. That's cool. How do you handle your taxes? Do you do a T 1099?
I do a 1099 from the real estate
No,
company
no,
that I work.
the exchange. Like how do to protect yourself?
Oh, that's the 301 exchange. Well, no,
Yeah.
I just pay the taxes on each project. I don't do the 301 exchange to roll into the next one. I found that was a little bit too much work to
Okay.
do, and you can't spend any other money on anything.
Can't hear you no more.
Can
Okay.
you hear me?
I can hear you now. You got to repeat all of that again.
I don't do the 301 exchange because I live off of the money that I make. So with the 301 exchange, you have to invest, you have to put all of the money from one project into the next. You can't use any other money for anything else.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
I just pay my taxes on each one and I write off, the work that I put into it, the maintenance, the mortgage payments. So there's no getting around Uncle Sam, the
I
government.
got
You
you.
have to.
Got to have a good accountant to help you out with those write-offs, though. Try to protect
Exactly.
yourself.
You don't want the government coming after you for the money.
So is there anything like any in particular you want to share as an investor and how which do you do business just in Chicago or do you do business outside of Chicago and other markets?
Mainly in Chicago, and I would just tell anybody who wants to get into this business that you're not going to get rich overnight. I've been doing this for a long time, and each deal is a separate deal, and you just got to do your due diligence as far as looking at the numbers, looking at the area that the home is in, looking at what homes that have sold in the area, how long it took for them to sell, and with your contractors, never give them too much money up front. Like always ration out the money to them because you never know what they're going to do until they do it. So no
Right.
matter how experienced you are, they can still get over on you and take the money and leave. So give them, set up a plan at the beginning with them that they agree to and make them accountable so that as they finish the work, that's how they get paid, especially because usually I only do labor only and I buy the material. So I like to say, when you go work at any job, do they pay you before you start? No, they pay you. You work a couple weeks, then you get paid. So that's how I treat contractors.
Got it.
You get paid once you show me you're doing something.
Got it. That's actually pretty smart. That's a good thing to protect yourself.
Right, because a lot of contractors, they'll do labor and they want you to get them, 25% up front, 50% up front. But why would I give you anything up front when you haven't done anything? And they'll usually try to use the, well, I need to trust you type of scenario, but I also need to trust you, the contractor. So you do a couple weeks work, then you get paid. If I don't pay you, then yeah, you could put a lien on me or something like that. But if we don't trust each other, then we shouldn't do work together.
Right. So when you say you buy material up front, so do they give you like a list of things that they need, or how do you figure out like what to buy if you're not giving them the allowance to do that themselves?
Well, I use Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, so we'll go to the store and buy whatever material they need to start.
You shop together. I see. Okay. Okay. That's still pretty good.
As they go on, you do the same thing, and then you start buying your cabinets and toilets and whatever else you need to buy. You need to pick those out yourself.
Do you do bulk sometimes? Do you do enough projects where it makes sense to do bulk shopping?
No, I'm only doing one at a time, so I don't do bulk shopping.
I got you. Okay, well, Mr. Catrell, I really appreciate you taking the time with your handsome self and talking to my people.
Oh, thank you.
All right, well, you enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
Okay, you as well.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.